Many gardens are like looking at a painting, whereas Dixter's as if you walked into the painting and you're within the painting. So you're immersed by this. Just invite the small specialist people and just charge them 20 quid for a weekend pitch. So I said, so let's have a plant fair. The amazing thing about Triptyque is that it was the home and the gardening place of that magic man Christopher Lloyd, who was undoubtedly one of the greatest gardeners of all time and one of the greatest garden writers of all time. You say your name?
Rachel.
It's an incredibly exciting garden with lots of high octane planting that just blows you away. Even though Christopher died a few years ago, that same system continues in this place. It's a very vibrant garden.
Approximately, if we are empty, 64 miles at best. If you're in an assembly, for instance, the master has just come out and picked a figure out their head.
What impact is this having?
Well, she married a man with 2 passports.
This here, for instance, Milton Keynes, and you find yourself really at the end of your charge, and you come across one of them for £1.20 more to get them mileages. It's madness.
It costs you 7 pence per kilowatt hour.
Great Dixter is a 6-acre garden in East Sussex that is around a wonderful 15th century manor house with a Lutyens wing, and it's a garden that was designed by Lutyens, so it's got very good bones and compartments of hedges and buildings, so you move from one room to another.
It's not a garden that you could ever say, oh, well, there's this part and that part. Here we are in the herb garden, here we are in the rose garden, here we are in the blue garden. It's not like that. It just sort of, gradually leads you from one place to another. Because this is a very sort of forgotten little valley. somehow with very much with this feeling that I want to make this handshake between the garden and the wider landscape, not an abrupt transition, but a sort of a melting from one to the other. I'm very much ruled by the form of a plant, particularly by its foliage, its texture. I think the garden, probably as you wander through it, is mostly made up of leaf, and then you have these sort of scatterings of colour as the flowers come and go. There's a tulip moment, a big tulip moment, there's an iris moment, there's a peony moment, not much of a rose moment. I'm not really sort of very keen on roses. I have a few Pemberton musks for sort of old time's sake. I think you sink into this wonderful, immediate connection with the soil, which is always good, and the turning it over. And I love weeding, and I love that sort of ability that weeding gives you to look closely at all the things that you've actually introduced into the patch. There's that great mantra, look after the soil and the plants will look after themselves. It's absolutely true. I'm absolutely in love with ferns, always have been, but here the circumstances are even better for growing them. So, somehow I've ended up with 48 different sorts of ferns, but the fern encapsulates the sort of plant that I now tend to go for. Superb form, wonderful beauty, sort of giving you a long time to wait while it actually delivers, the full performance. Yeah, this is Magnolia wilsonii, which is actually one of the first ones ever to go in. I think it's one of the best ones too. Look into those amazing flowers, that extraordinary texture. Each one doesn't last so long, but a lot of them, including this one, have the most wonderful seed pods as well. I like putting in things that reveal their delight slowly. Some of the magnolias haven't flowered yet, but that doesn't matter to me. 6 years, what is that? It's a blip in the life of a magnolia. And I'm perfectly content to wait. This is our best possible sort of defence, our bulwark against an increasingly, it seems to me, hostile world. We have increasingly less and less control over what is going on out there. And in our gardens we can make the sort of world that we wish we lived in.
So you spiral up, like going up Glastonbury Tor or something, and you find this shell keep, which is just like a sort of James Turrell oval of high walls and an open roof. We were going to have chickens up there, which I still quite want to do because it's very safe. Julian started thinking about having plants in there that people can't touch, like giant hogweed, which is very, very massive irritant to the skin. If you touch it, you grow huge blisters. And there are lots of other poisonous sort of Jurassic things with magnificent leaves, and the Gunnera has these huge spikes all over it, but it looks fantastic.
What is a weed? Oh, what is a weed? Tell you a very good funny story very quickly. Very posh interior decorator walking around a very, very posh garden with a head of the posh people and being shown the posh garden by posh garden designers, members of everything. And after about 4.5 hours, I've seen every single clipped border, clipped everything, wonderful rose beds. He's heard to whisper, as they come to a rather dingy corner. My God, hooray for nettles. Nature won. A lot of people don't see gardens early in the morning that are open. And I always think it's a sad thing. I mean, all the great so-called gardens like Sissinghurst, you know, people lived in them, drunk in them, argued in them, and, you know, they saw dawns and dusks in them, and we all see them very sanitised now.
We came here in 2012 and it just poured with rain for 12 months after we arrived. And all we did was take things out and poison them. And so it was a very hard year.
I don't want to live in a castle. I don't really want to live in a ruin. We live in a sort of white light box with the surrounded gardens. The house itself was built in 1806 by a pupil of Soane, and it's so simple. And it sits sort of strangely in this sort of, you know, it's a castle, but yet it's not a castle. It's very outward going. Most castles are closed walls inward. Because he knocked down the wall to get the view, I mean, which he wouldn't be allowed to do now. It's
Devonport.
Devonport. It's the remains of Her Majesty's Navy. And there's lots of whoops and screams and sirens, and I think it's like looking over the Bay of Naples.
There's something about the sound in this castle. And I think that's partly to do with the estuary, but it's also to do with the castle, and these curtain walls go almost all the way around except for the view. And other people have noted it to me, and they just say it's particularly a sort of density of silence and quality of echo.
I mean, in a way, your photographs is sort of making people look again at plants, and there's an amazing photo she has of a poppy. There's this sort of birth of this pussy pink bursting out of its green nature and crinkling as it's born. Really.
Yeah, very crinkly.
And in Isabel's photos, she's often so fascinated by the thing you'd remove normally.
Yeah, but the rot is part of the fecundity, is part of this whole cycle of replication of the selfish gene. And the smell is all part of that too, because it's all about getting fertilised by moths. And
yes, because I think a lot of people don't actually realise what all this lovely Dame Nature surrounding us is. It's just really one huge sort of orgy.
sex organ.
Orgy. I mean, it really is.
There's the smell of
Phallic erections
sperm
of fennel
and lilies and
driving out of the ground. It's the sort of beginning of a sort of strange orchestra where, you know, things pop up, and there's standard ways of doing it, but quite often the whole magic of doing this is not sticking to the standard ways. It's like doing flight control at an airport, but you mustn't worry too much about it. If you have a crash, it doesn't matter.